Okay. How much of this is on Caleb?
If this means last night's game, a fair amount. It's on the entire offense. Scored 3 points. Defense held them to 6. Supposed to win that football game. If you mean the Bears' season being a failure as it is, none of it's reasonably on him. None of it's reasonably on the rookie quarterback who actually, once we stop holding him to a totally different standard than every rookie in his class and every rookie ever, number one overall pick or not, we would say he's actually not exceeded expectations, but met them in many ways. The incredibly high expectations. Oh, these are the mental gymnastics we have done when really people want to criticize anyone. Criticize me and those of us. I think Brew might have been one of them. Certainly Coach was, who had the Bears in the playoffs.
I did not have
I had the Bears in the Super Bowl. That was wrong. But the criticisms of Caleb have spun into this weird zone of actually, you know what? They'd be better if he threw more interceptions. So we can look at, a number one overall pick who threw 28 interceptions while leading his team to a 3-win season. That guy must have been a total bust. I can only imagine who that could be. Can you show me, Dust? Oh, okay, it's Peyton Manning. Then it was.
Why is that an argument? That's an argument to throw interceptions.
Well, that's an argument. No, that's an argument that you can, doing it Caleb's way or Peyton's way, if the team is not yet ready to win, you're going to win 3 or 4 games.
Football was different back then.
Okay, I knew. I figured you might say that. So we'll get more contemporary as it goes on. Another argument has been like last night, and again, last night didn't play well. All these checkdowns, this type of conservative football, you're not going to win that way. Well, those yards per pass, the yards per game, the passer rating, touchdown, interceptions one way, that team won a lot. I wonder how they did it. We can show you that guy is his first year as a starter. Oh, wait. Second greatest quarterback of all time. And then there's this. If he really was generational.
This is the dumbest thing we've ever done.
If I told you weren't going to like it.
This is one of the dumbest things we've ever done in the history of the show.
Well, then let me just finish it real quick. And then
that guy was drafted 199.
Oh, I thought you might say that.
Not number one.
Right. So if you really were worthy of the number one pick, and we don't want to talk about old-timey football, a number one pick would elevate a terrible franchise, right? I don't know if we can show the next one. A number one pick wouldn't be on pace for 4 wins with a passer rating sub 90. Again, touchdown-interception ratio similar if he really was a generational player, except, of course, that player, Joe Burrow, was in a very similar situation, and then the very next year was in the Super Bowl. So am I selling my Caleb Williams stock? No. Am I putting this Bears season when they fired the head coach, the offensive coordinator, they might soon fire the GM on him? No, I'm not. So that's the answer, Brew.
That was Burrow through 10 games. How many games did Burrow play?
Burrow was 2-7-1. So if we want to think he was about to all of a sudden win 5 straight.
Well, when you look at touchdowns, interceptions, the numbers look similar, but Caleb had played.
Well, no, Caleb. I mean, if we can throw it back up if we want, it was 19 touchdowns to 13 touchdowns. The math tracks, and so
Joe Burrow.
Again, I'm just telling you what it was. There it is.
It's
wild.
It's worse than I thought.
What?
This is so dumb.
I came on here, before I was even going to answer the question, I was going to offer my condolences to my buddy, Nick Wright.
I don't need him.
Nick's 2 favorite not just Caleb, his 2 favorite quarterbacks outside of Kansas City combined last night for the worst offensive performance in recent memory. In modern football history, Geno got 6, and he was the superior one. So I was going to offer my condolences, and then I am the ambassador of impartiality. Yes. So I have to do this. I don't want to, but I have to. Last week, I had to sit here and listen to Brock Purdy get demolished.
Oh, no.
For throwing for 30 more yards than Caleb and Geno combined last night. And 2 more touchdowns than them combined. And what Nick Wright has now made the worst quarterback era in history. marching down the field
throwing a pick
with
to lose the game.
chance to win, and you throw a pick.
Yeah.
That's what Caleb did.
Yeah.
And then you come on here and compare him favorably to Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, and Joe Burrow?
I don't.
It's worse than I thought.
Why?
This is delusional.
Oh.
It's a lot on Caleb Williams.
Okay.
Let's not get this thing twisted. You picked him to win the Super Bowl or reach the Super Bowl for a reason.
Yeah.
Because you and so many others said what? No number one pick has ever been in a better situation than Caleb Williams.
I might have misjudged that.
No, I mean, and you weren't alone.
I might have misjudged it.
But you know what? You didn't misjudge it.
I think I did.
Because he does have a Pro Bowl running back in DeAndre Swift. He does have a Pro Bowl receiver they added for him in Keenan Allen, and a great number 2 in DJ Moore. And heck, Roma Dunze might be a superstar one day.
And the defense.
And the defense is a top 10 defense. They held him to freaking 6 points. I mean, this is on the lion's share is on Caleb Williams. Now look, the offensive line is falling apart. But last year's Houston's offensive line was falling apart, and C.J. Stroud managed to be pretty good.
What about this year? What about Caleb and C.J. this year?
Still gonna make the playoffs.
Yeah, because
all right, and he doesn't have his receiving core is decimated. All right, so you can't go there.
I mean, Nico Collins would be the best receiver on either team. And Nico Collins missed 4.
The other 2 guys are hurt. Yeah, well, Caleb's got 3. Let's not make excuses for the young man.
I'm not making excuses.
You are. His coach. Now the coaching situation is a mess.
Disaster.
But they were 4-2 at one point.
Yeah.
Despite Caleb playing poorly. Because that defense is legit. It was a great defense at the end of last year. It's still top 10. 10 times. 10 times. He has failed to score 20 points. And I'm not writing him off as a potential star down the road, but this season, he has been the main problem.
He's been the main problem. So that I thoroughly disagree with. Okay.
Because what's the problem? Is the offensive line's the reason he's got 67 sacks? None of that's on him?
No. I think that's some on him.
Some of it's on him.
I would stack guilt on coaching with
How'd they get to be 4-2?
What you said, despite Caleb,
it was despite Caleb.
No, it was not. Those 3 games they won leading into the Washington game was when he
didn't play well in every one of those games.
No, he didn't play well in the game 1.
They beat Tennessee with him throwing for what, 90 yards or whatever it was?
That was week 1 of the season. But the 3 games they won leading into the Washington game was when he was playing his best.
Man.
I'm not making excuses.
Call it like it is. The dude has had moments. But overall, it has been a bad rookie season because he had a stacked lineup with him, and he didn't do nothing with it. He's had more than Bo Nix, more than Drake May, and more than Jaden Daniels.
Unequivocally not had more than Bo Nix.
You picked him to reach the Super Bowl. What are you talking about?
Yeah, and so I got that wrong, Brew. But
you're saying he don't have a better squad around him than Bo Nix?
Bo Nix has a far better defense. Bo Nix has the best offensive line in football. Bo Nix has a Hall of Fame coach versus a coach who got fired. The Drake May stuff I'll listen to for sure. I do think he has better talent around than Drake May. Yeah. But the numbers for the rookies, Jaden is the valedictorian by a mile. A mile. But if we show you and we can do Drake, then Bo, then CJ, since you mentioned him, just run them back to back, Dust. This is the part that I don't totally understand. Whether or not if we can show him versus Drake May. Wilds is over the moon excited about Drake May. He can do no wrong. And you're right, Brew. I don't like game-losing picks, and that's why I said last night you can put a lot on him. Wilds must not care about him because he has a half dozen this year.
I like them.
And so, you're fine with them. But and you think the Patriots have a good coach, and you think we've underrated their talent, and you think they have an excellent defense. And they're 2-8 in his starts.
Those things are not.
They don't have
part of those are on the.
Got.
You have to grade some of those on the fan curve. If we are talking about what my non-fan hat says. I think that we have a coach that we should keep and is getting better. I think the defense should be good, actually not that good. And I think the weapons aren't the worst in the league, but when you look at it, it's hard to find
the weapon difference between the Bears and the Patriots is massive.
But I also would have been over the moon if we got 5 wins. And I viewed this whole year as an experiment. I viewed the whole year as Drake Maye just, an art project for Drake Maye. Hey, screw it up. Who cares? See what happens. And Drake has played exactly how I want him to. Hey, got a chance to win the game, dude. Throw it down the field. Chuck it. I didn't mind Caleb doing this. I didn't like that he scrambled back so much and throwing the game-ending interception. But I feel like Caleb has been burdened with all of the challenges that every rookie faces and the expectations of a number one pick, which every number one pick has a little bit extra in their backpack. And all the, not only this, we expect you to make the playoffs and be great right away. And I feel like that has been too heavy of a slog for him to get through.
That's why I said the criticism, I deserve it, and because I was probably the Pied Piper of it, but a lot of people had them in the playoffs, not in the Super Bowl, but in the playoffs. Because if we can quickly just show the Bo Nix and then C.J. Stroud thing, the Bo Nix thing, I will fight to the death on. I do not think Bo Nix has played better than Caleb Williams this year. I think that I thought the Broncos would win more than their projected win total of 5.5, but I didn't think they'd be a playoff team, which they could be. That is, though, the difference in coaching and in an actually great defense as opposed to, I think, Bruce slightly overvaluing
they're
how the Bears have
scoring
performed.
Defense.
They're, what are they, 10th in scoring? They're 10th in scoring defense. And then the CJ thing, I think, is a great point on this as well. Not because of the coaching he gave him, but because, I want to talk about CJ's weapons because you're right, he's now without two of his receivers. He had Tank Dell all year and was doing this, right? Tank Dell got hurt a game ago.
But Nico was hurt for a while.
And Nico missed 4 games, and Diggs got hurt.
Diggs obviously was hurt.
So, but that was a team that had super high expectations. The offensive line has been brutal. People in Houston think their offensive coaching has been bad. Bobby Slowick, who was the flavor of the month last year, people are killing him in Houston this year. And while the team has been able to win games, he has regressed massively. And I don't think people are out. I'm not out on C.J. Stroud. And so I think that if Caleb had not had the expectations that I and others placed on him, I don't think people would be killing this rookie year. I just don't.
Nick, there was a reason, and obviously you went overboard with Super Bowl, but there was a reason.
100%.
A legitimate reason. People thought they'd make the playoffs. Because the defense was great last year at the end and was good,
Jaden
very
Daniels
good
is
this
having
year.
the year that Caleb
people
was
thought,
supposed to have.
yes, that part is undeniable.
They switched in that way.
And he's done it with a worse defense.
Worse defense
than Chicago. Not the weapons. McLaurin is great, but I don't think he has the weapons that Caleb has. And a defensive coach.
And he's looked better.
And he's looked
I know we
better.
don't care about the eye test.
We care about the eye test. There's no question about it.
Of the 4 starting rookies, quarterbacks, he got the worst passer rating and the worst completion percentage.
So honest question before we move on.
Tied with Bo Nix
do you care about the lowest passer rating when I think it just showed 86.4 versus 86.6?
I'm just saying.
Or 87. I'm sorry.
I'm just saying.
It was him and Bo Nix were 0.2 apart. And so, to me, and him and Drake Maye were 1.2 apart or something.
Look, the things he's been inaccurate. He's been too off schedule. And so he's got to work on his accuracy and being more on schedule and not, holding the ball so long. Those are things he's got to work on.
That's totally fair.
He can still be great down the line. But I think this year he got to take a lot of the blame for this.
If I may, I think it can simultaneously be he has been disappointing given what the expectations were. But I guess when I read how much of the Bears' struggles are on Caleb, I'm asking myself, if you dropped these other rookie quarterbacks there this year, would any of them have thrived?
Oof. I think I don't think he's the worst of the 4. I still think he's the second best behind Jaden as far as future. I think they might have been better with any of those 3. This year.
The Patriots' offensive line was a total disaster, and Drake Maye's not taking sacks like this.
It's been terrible.
The sacks are really strange.
And Nix would have been on time, on schedule.
I think Nix would have gotten eaten alive with this coaching. I think that the Sean Payton versus Matt Eberflus, who's now been fired, Delta. Now Drake Maye's not dealing with great coaching, but I think that because I listen to Greg Rosenthal, you guys know I love his NFL Daily podcast. He's a diehard Patriot fan. The way diehard Patriot fans talk about Drake Maye and the way every other person in football media talks about Drake Maye, it's like we're watching two different broadcasts. And the lack of, to me, there are a lot of, even though they're not all similar players, a lot of the same absolute certainty of greatness of the rookie quarterback that we heard about Mac Jones. We're now hearing about Drake Maye. And I thought Mac had a low ceiling. I think Drake's going to be good. So but that to me is all about the expectations thing that you're talking about. One team was supposed to be terrible, one team was supposed to be good.
Before we go, I just want to look forward 1 year on Caleb. Dust, can you bring out this QB drafted #1 since 2016 graphic? It shows the basically the schedule of when everybody makes the playoffs. And all of a sudden, Josh brought it up to me. I was like, oh, tricky. Goff, year 2, playoffs. Baker, year 3, playoffs. And Baker, we were getting worried about. Kyler, year 3. Burrow, year 2. Trevor, Bryce, Caleb. So Bryce hasn't made it yet. All these guys had their head coaches fired during the year. So Caleb's had his fired during the year. Do you think he's getting to the playoffs next year, or is this a full restart?
Oh, I think the expectation will probably be that the Bears, if they hire the head coach,
I'm nervous that it's not going to happen, and we're going to be here again next year. It's like brand new coach, this and that.
I think people will expect
but I don't know who they're knocking
and I think that was huge for Trevor. I know Trevor post that playoff run. The next year they started 8-3, then he got hurt, and this year went to hell and he got hurt. But it was that first year by Trevor could not have gone worse. The coach didn't make it through the year. They got the #1 overall pick again. You know what I mean? They got it for him, and then they got it with him. And then that next year, they find themselves in the playoffs and win a playoff game. And the next season start 8-3, and it's like, okay, we're good. This is the guy. And then since then, it's been awful again.
But part of me thinks that this is going to be a weird theory. Part of me thinks that Trevor's rookie second year was almost his first full year.
Yeah, that was a worse situation than Caleb.
And then he hit his sophomore slump as a junior.
Yeah, but
he had a hot.
He's still in that.
That's what I'm saying. I do think that this. You know me, Mr. Continuity. I don't like changing out all these guys.
No, so I don't, and people, and it's also why, and I know we spent 15 minutes longer on this than we expected to. We were going to talk about the next coach. It's also why I think there is. I understand Danny, and who's from Chicago, and a lot of the Chicago folks want offensive-minded head coach. You know what I mean? Pair with Caleb, and that's what I have been a proponent of as well. I think that's your highest ceiling. There is a really good argument to be made that if you could get Mike Vrabel, who is a known quantity at head coach, yeah, it would. I mean, I think Ben Johnson would be my first choice. But if I'm not getting Ben Johnson, then I think that it's like, okay, then I'll spin that offensive coordinator wheel and see who Sean McVay last called and hire him. That's a risky one.
The challenge is if that offense goes well next year under new OC,
then he might get a head job. That is always the downside to hiring the defensive-minded head coaches. Then the OC can change out. But for every Kevin O'Connell, there's an Arthur Smith or Zach Taylor, or I don't know if he's done a great job. Freddie Kitchens, like Matt LaFleur, Kevin O'Connell have been in the last 5 years the hot offensive mind that was an A+ no-brainer hire. Dable, people thought, oh, that was a great hire. I don't know, he might get fired this year. Yeah. Nat Hackett was, Mike McDaniel was, oh my God, that was a great one. So that's I do agree with you. The third head coach, like Trevor's about to be on, is are dangerous waters. Dangerous waters.
See, if I'm Jacksonville, I'm Ben Johnson. Like, let's get into a bidding war for Ben Johnson. He's in a great spot.
Yeah, Chicago. That's the guy, Ben Johnson.
But not if I'm Jackson. If I'm Trevor, I'm like, I got Trevor. I need my guy now. I can't miss.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.